All right, a very good afternoon to you, and you're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana. It's good to be back, and we hope that everything is going well. This afternoon, we have a focus. We had a first focus, and we shifted. Remember that we're talking about Professor Frimpong Boateng's interview, but that couldn't come off today for one reason or the other from his side. And as and when we're cleared, we definitely will bring you that interview. But there's also another that we want to shift our attention to, and that has to do with the Ghana Police Service. A few weeks or maybe months back, we've had a series of happenings involving or series of crimes involving the Ghana Police Service. And within the spate of time, I think it has been one too many, or my production team thinks it has been one too many. That's our opinion. But because of that, we're going to have analysts and experts with us to discuss, is there a worry, or must we be worried about anything at all, or this is just normal happening as one human institution that we should consider as such. And so we would have Peter Tobu with us, who is Member of Parliament for Wild West constituency, and also security analyst Adeb Sani will also join us as we get into these matters. We'll give you the details of some of the matters that, as news agency, we have recorded over the period involving the Ghana Police Service. My name is Annie Ampofo. Let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana. So let's get into two major issues that we were told involved the Ghana Police Service or members of the Ghana Police Service. And the first one had to do with one that really caught social media attention, and those who were chastising the deceased did so, and those who were also chastising the police also did so. But must the police have the highest of intelligence, or I would say emotional intelligence, to manage some of these temptations when they're faced with in the line of their work, or they can equally act as normal civilians like us, so that they can also vent their anger the way they want to. So the first one had to do with the policeman that allegedly murdered his girlfriend over some, relationship problem. And then the latest one also had to do with the one that we're told, the constable that was killed by his senior. And those are the two major issues that we're dealing with this afternoon. Let's get a statement for the first one from the Ghana Police Service. And okay, so let me take a break. My producers are, communicating something technical to me. I'll take a quick breather. I'll be back shortly. All right, you're welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana. Let's now go and take the first police statement that had to do the first crime that was reported. And the statement says that the police inspector arrested for the murder of a woman in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. The police have this evening arrested a police officer, Inspector Ahmed Chumeti, who is alleged to have shot and killed a female adult who was believed to be his girlfriend. The shooting incident occurred in Kumasi in the Ashanti region on Thursday, 20th of April, 2020. Also, the latest one that has to do with a senior officer, killing a junior officer or shooting to kill a junior officer. We'll get that. The Herald newspaper this morning captured said ex-Ghana Army lawyer Robert Shea's disguised gag order. So that is also an issue with the military. We'll deal with that later. But let's go into the phone lines. Adeb Sani is a security analyst. He has joined us already. Adeb, if you can hear me, you're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana.
My pleasure, Annie.
Thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with you. From your angle as a security analyst, is this, I was asking someone, that if this is a normal occurrence with the Ghana Police Service as a human institution, or there's something to be worried about?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me say a very good afternoon to your production team and yourself, and of course, your viewers. Indeed, there's something to be worried about, and that big elephant in the room surely is mental health. I'm particularly disturbed because every day we hear about mass shootings in the US, and in the end, a lot of them have mental health issues. So for personnel of a security institution that is allowed to handle weapons, in some cases high-powered rifles like AK-47, M16, to have some of their personnel going through, suspected mental health issues definitely should be a cause for worry. Because what I pray every day for God to prevent is a mass shooting situation involving an officer who might not be, mentally sane enough. Like it happened in the case of Corporal Amuzu, somewhere around Tema, where when he killed his mother-in-law, his children who were very little. Fortunately for his wife, she was able to escape, and in the end, he turned the gun on himself. So you can imagine, knowing full well that today is my last day on earth, I'll kill myself, what he could have done had he been in a public space with that rifle. So surely it is really disturbing, and it brings to fore the need for the police to pay attention to mental health. Sometimes we make it look as if the police they are robots. No, they are humans, just like you and I. However, the nature of their work even makes them more susceptible to mental health issues because they are the first respondents mostly to accident scenes in which they see really gory, stuff like the head being somewhere, the torso being somewhere, the leg being elsewhere, a lot of blood. Sometimes they go on operations, they engage criminals in firefights. They see their comrades getting shot and dying in their arms and all that. So definitely it would have an effect on their psyche. As a result, we need to pay attention and ensure that at least once every year, officers are made to go through a mental health evaluation. We keep talking about it, but nobody is paying attention to us. But it's important. It's a matter of national security priority to know the mental health status of officers. What we do is at the recruitment stage, we go through all of these processes, but once the officer is on board, he's recruited, that's it. We don't pay attention to it again. But like I indicated, we should make it a point to let officers go through mental health evaluation, especially those that have gone through, certain operations that might have an implication on their psyche, on their mental state of mind. At least once a year is extremely critical.
But if it has to be with the psyche, we should be receiving more or worse reports from the armed forces than, the police officers, because considering the work the armed forces do, they are trained to, shoot and kill or by the nature of their work. So they should be experiencing more depression comparatively, or, security-wise, it doesn't work that way.
Well, Ghana is not at war, okay? And our armed forces might not be necessarily engaged like the police does on daily basis. On daily basis, the police is confronting criminals, some of them very dangerous, some of them armed to the teeth, even more than the police. The police is dealing with the civilian population. An innocent call to the police to step into a domestic, violence case can result in the police losing a life. When there's a robbery incident in any part of the country, it is not the military that is called to step in, it is the police. When there's a gory accident scene, it is the police. When someone is suspected to have committed suicide, it is the police. So the function of the police is much more pronounced. And from my perspective, I think they are more exposed to the conditions necessary for them to go through some mental health issues than the military. So that is why I think that we should pay attention to the police, but Nevertheless, we should pay attention to all of the security services, but particularly on the police because of the nature of their work.
Sorry, that's to say today the police is more exposed to the brutal nature of their work than the Ghana Armed Forces because we are not really going to so much war, right?
Absolutely, there's no denying that fact. And Annie, it would interest you to know that there are quite, there's a good number of Ghanaians who have mental health issues. Okay, but mostly we don't seek help because of some major reasons. One, because of the perceptions, the Ghanaian society has about people with mental health. A lot of Ghanaians think that mental health means you are mad. So when you step up and need attention or help, then your family is painted and nobody would want to marry from your family because you are mad people and all that. Others don't know that they are going through mental health issues. For example, I had a friend of mine, I can engage in a conversation with him. It is all funny. We are laughing, we are smiling. Then the next minute, he becomes a different human being altogether. Anger. Then one day I gathered the courage to, let him know that I suspect he might have bipolar. He was so incensed about it. He didn't talk to me for about 2 months. Later he called me and he asked how I was doing. I said I was fine. Then he said, okay, some time ago I told him something and he was so mad about it. But he thought about it for a number of weeks. Then he decided to seek medical attention and truly he's been diagnosed and he's going through therapy and it's been good for him. So you see, sometimes we have to pay attention to detail and we have to be willing to help our neighbors, our family members who we suspect might be going through mental health issues so they get the help they so badly need. And like I indicated, I am more troubled because these are persons who wield weapons. Okay, so when the mental health deteriorates to a certain extent, the person might go on a shooting, rampage. And I pray it doesn't happen, but it is not something we can completely shrug off or discount. That is why we need to work to improve mental health services within, particularly the Ghana Police Service. This is not the first time I'm raising this issue.
But I want to confirm.
Raised it in the past.
I want to confirm from you that as this now currently the Ghana Police Service is not receiving any mental health assistance by the nature of their work.
So far as I am concerned, there's such a service within the Ghana Police Service. Okay, I'm not sure how many clinical psychologists we might have within the Ghana Police Service, but surely there are health professionals within the Ghana Police Service who double as police officers, okay? Mm-hmm. But to what extent is it efficient is the question. This is not the first time. I asked this question years ago. They said, well, it's there, but it's not so effective, because if it were, we would have been able to evaluate them, pick up all the red flags, the warning signs, and prevent a lot of these situations. I'm not also opining that all of the situations involving police, murdering someone is mental health related. No, some of it might be well thought through, well planned, and well executed, hence a simple case of criminality. All right, but I must say a good chunk of them has a lot to do with the person's psyche.
Now let's focus on the public. How is this behavior likely to affect the public? We've seen one, we've seen two, we've seen some even before the recent one that we've recorded. How is it likely to affect the public and their relation to those who are supposed to be peacekeepers and our friends?
Well, in recent months, there's been efforts by the police to transform it into a world-class police service. IGP Dampare has been quite instrumental in improving policing in the country, and of course, in harnessing the relationship between the police and the civilian population. However, recent happenings, has got a lot of Ghanaians questioning whether indeed the police is being successfully transformed. What we see is a man in uniform doing the wrong thing. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't ask questions. What might have pushed him? Is there a problem? Does he have a mental health issue? For example, you see a police officer heavily drunk. Maybe he has a domestic issue with his wife or his family, and that has pushed him into drinking, and he really needs help. Okay, but when we see that, what we think is, oh, it's the police service. They are unprofessional. There are a lot of them were recruited the wrong way and all that. But they are human beings. Okay, maybe at the point of recruitment he's fine, but somewhere between the line, things just got out of control. All right, so it's making some Ghanaians, not trust in the police service, and thinking that they rather have to take matters into their own hands to protect themselves. Lately, we have too many recorded cases of police-involved shootings, including the very sad case of Majwa somewhere in Kumasi. And just a few days ago, another young officer was killed allegedly by his senior colleague after they engaged in an argument when they were returning from an operation. So all of these is making Ghanaians wonder, but if you can kill your girlfriends, you can kill your colleagues, how much less we? So it's really complicating efforts towards harnessing that relationship. But I think there's still a window of opportunity. The police would have to look inward and address these fundamental issues. And hopefully, we are also there. As civil society, as think tanks, we will also help the people to at least in the long term, hopefully restore some level of confidence in the work of the police and get more Ghanaians to cooperate with the police.
You were talking about restructuring of the Ghana Police Service. I think as a public we have definitely seen some attempt to restructure the Ghana Police Service. The physical structure itself is looking more attractive. Uniforms seem to have changed.
Yeah.
We've been passing the police service head office, and we see major renovations ongoing there, which shows that there is an attempt to start from the base, to start from somewhere. Is that not a good start that eventually would reflect in the service provision?
Well, definitely it is important, but it has to go hand in hand with the quality, okay, of service rendered by police, officers. The looks is important. I mean, when you are in a business suit and you go to any office space, the attention given to you would be different if you are in a jeans and a polo shirt. I mean, it is normal. The secretary would ask you, is he expecting you? Do you have an appointment with him? But if you're in your business suit with your, designer bag, the attention given to you would definitely be different. So the police would also have to look good. It has to look attractive, and I see a lot of work has been done. The edifice is beautiful. I had some friends come from South Africa. We passed by the police headquarters, and they were so impressed. They're like, they've never seen such a beautiful police headquarters before. These days, you see a lot of police officers on motorbikes at various traffic intersections. Sometimes you see them in convoys moving from one place to another. I must say, it is quite impressive. However, there are some fundamental issues within the police service. One of it is the promotions. I mean, you speak with a lot of officers who complain about how certain persons are promoted at their expense when they deserve the promotion. There's issue about disunity. About also about politics within the police service and all that. So if we are able to improve the quality of policing, I'm sure it would invariably lead to an improvement in the relations with the civilian population. The father of modern day policing, Sir Robert Peel, came out with the 9 p.m. principles of modern day policing when he founded the Metropolitan Police in the UK and later became the British Prime Minister. It is all about harnessing your relationship with the civilian population. It is all about getting the civilians to recognize that, hey, we have mandated you to work on our behalf, okay? And it is so to speak policing by consent. So it is without consent you are operation and you are part and parcel of the society. Okay, it is about the police using less force in certain situations, because according to the 9 p.m. principles of policing, which by the way forms the benchmark for best international practices so far as policing is concerned, it says that the more force the police uses in certain situations, the less you're likely to have the people cooperate with the police. So as much as the police can, they should be trained on civilian policing. They should be trained to understand that the use of the rifle is not always the way out and should be the last resort. Unfortunately, in many of the cases we've seen involving, skirmishes, the use of the rifle is always the first resort, okay? And we should get them to understand that there are de-escalatory practices that they need to, resort to before the last case, the worst case scenario. And all of these, I'm pretty sure, would help. When I go to the police to report the case, no matter how flimsy, no matter how petty it is, I expect the police to follow up at least. Because there's a theory in criminology called the broken glass theory. It says that when a glass is broken, as minor as an offense it is, if you don't take action, tomorrow it will be a life that will be broken. Okay, so if people go to the police and they report cases and you don't attend to it, tomorrow they might have bigger cases they would not necessarily report to the police. So all of these are the fundamental issues we keep talking about, and to be able to effectively transform the police and get the buy-in, engender the support of the public, we need to handle this very carefully.
So, educate us a bit. The police that handles the rifles, who specifically are giving the rifle according to their ranks?
I'm not. Any rank can have a rifle, depending on your rule. Today you might be given a rifle, tomorrow you might not, because yesterday perhaps you were on guard duties at the bank, or you were shuttling money in a bullion van from one bank to another. Perhaps you would also be given a rifle because you are going on a special operation, and of course you would also be in your bulletproof vest. So it depends, but there are some top high-ranked police officers who have, officially, what do you call it, sanctioned, or they are officially assigned sidearms. Okay, and there are some officers who are not. So it all depends. It's not about the rank. There are corporals, there are constables who hold guns all over the place. Okay.
So, what should we learn, the public?
A lot. A lot, and I follow keenly the LAPD, the NYPD. I follow other police departments because I gather data on periodic basis. I research on best practices, and I think one of the ways to improve policing, I must say, in Ghana is through transparency and accountability. Okay. In the past, we've had so many reported cases of police assaulting civilians and even journalists, including Ghanaian Times reporters, which, by the way, included a pregnant woman, we understand. And to date, we don't know what has become of those cases, and even the case involving the shooting of some young Zongo boys, in Kumasi. So all of these is making, Ghanaians question whether really the police is their friend. So if we are able to ensure accountability, we would be able to get the people to respect and buy into the work of the police. On the other hand, would they be able to get the police into doing the right thing, because a lot of of these officers have that false sense of invincibility, because they think they will be protected even if they are caught. So accountability, I must say, is key. When you look closely at some of these police departments outside of the country, they wear the body cam, and whatever it is you are engaged in, make sure the body cam is on. Don't come after the incident to tell me the battery had died, or I forgot to put it on, or the body cam is lost. There's accountability. So a lot of these shooting incidents we see, Brown Taylor and the rest, we wouldn't have known what had happened without those body cams. And I remember some time ago, Annie, the police service was to be given body cams, and I understand the first batch was in about 2 years ago, after the robbery series of robbery incidents, one involving one at Las Palmas,
Right.
where a police officer was shot, then another one at those selling the motorbikes at industrial area. They sell those motorbikes at industrial area. Their warehouse was also attacked and all that. So there was talk about the body cams, and I don't know what has happened to the body cams, because usually it's your word against the officer's word. Like it happened with the suspects involving the killing of the young officer at Jamestown, the bullion van. We understand the suspects were taken to show them where the other suspects were, and in an attempt to run, or the exchange of gunfire, it just doesn't make sense,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if there
yeah.
were body cams, we would have been able to tell. So sometimes the police issue certain statements, and when you just look at it on the face value, you see, just excuse me, it just doesn't make sense,
But with the bullion service, story, was that the final release of the police on that? Because there was so much suspicion that the police officer that was shot or killed was like a deliberate murder.
Yes, yes, and in the end, investigation found that the young man who was shot in the eye at Jamestown during that bullion van heist was perpetrated by officers, police officers,
Right.
including one. What's the guy's name? I've forgotten his name, but he's someone. His name has come across. I've come across the name before. Yes, I've come across that name before.
In terms of
Uh,
crime?
in terms, I wouldn't say crime, but in terms of him having issues with some suspected Sakawa boys, informally.
Right.
You understand, and how the boys were brought in, and the things the man was saying to them and all that. So I wasn't too surprised when his name, came up again. But like I said, there's the need for transparency, and when we have these body cams in place, or officers wearing it, to help. And even their vehicles, the police vehicles,
Right.
I don't know whether they have dash cams. They need dash cams.
They have dash cams
Yeah,
in the
installed
police
in the
vehicle.
police vehicles. I don't know whether they do, because I'm yet to see a single footage published by the Ghana Police Service of a dash cam
Okay.
footage. I've never seen it before in Ghana. I don't know if they do, but the transparency is key, so that in the midst of all of these, oh, it's true, it's not true, the police is up to something, the conspiracy theories and the rest, once the footage is published, it kills it all. If only you are not hiding anything. But sometimes some statements come out and you don't know, or you are not able to distinguish the left from the right. You don't know what it is they are trying to imply. But with the concrete video evidence, audio evidence, I'm sure, it should help boost confidence in the Ghana Police Service going forward.
All right. Adeb, I think we'll leave it. We'll leave it here, and proceed with the police subsequently and see what they can do. The unfortunate thing is that when you murder the police or you murder a police officer, it's no news. But when the police officer the other way around commits the crime, that becomes a cause to worry. So, Adib, we're grateful for your time. He's a security analyst, in that area. But let's also go on the phone lines and speak with James Agalga. My producers, am I right? Is he the one I have on phone? Okay. So the story for the police officer that grabbed over the colleague murder, I said that this was captured by the Daily Statesman. The story said the police inspector in the grips of the Western North Regional Police Command in connection with the murder of the colleague constable police officer. Now, though events leading to the shooting of the colleague officer of the law remains unknown, police sources have confirmed that the alleged murder occurred while the two were returning from patrol duties in the early hours of Friday together. The police officer, the Public Affairs Director of the Ghana Police Service, ACP, Grace Ansa Akrofi, said the police had commenced investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. All right, let's go into the phone lines. James Agaga, I'm told, has eventually joined us. Let's also speak to him before we get off the program. Honorable member, thank you for your time. James Agaga, you're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Thank you.
So we're having a quick discussion with the security analyst Adib Sani on the current happenings in the police. I think the first question I posed to him, I'll pose the same to you, having been in the security, detail of Ghana before. Let me find out, do you think that is a cause to worry with the police in series of activities where they are rather the ones carrying out the crime?
Yes. It's indeed very alarming that peace officers are the ones who are now being implicated in murder cases. The last time a police officer, an inspector, shot dead a lady who was supposed to be his girlfriend. And a few days ago, it was also reported that a senior police officer shot dead a junior police officer. These happenings are very worrying, and the police service needs to take urgent steps to review, for instance, the caliber of persons who are recruited into the service. They need to have psychologists at posts to counsel officers. I mean, police are human. And so there are times they have emotional challenges.
Right.
But it is an established fact that the police service hasn't got many psychologists in their midst. Some attempts were made, and we're excited about the development when the police, in one of their briefings to us in Parliament, indicated that they had recruited a couple of psychologists to help victims. And so if they have such a mechanism in place, one would expect that even police officers themselves are made beneficiary to the services of psychologists that they would want to recruit. But more fundamentally, the police service itself must look within and cleanse itself of criminal elements who may have infiltrated the ranks of the service. For instance, the last time the bullion van attacks, you saw that police officers were actually implicated in the bullion van attacks.
Right.
That for me was completely unacceptable, and so it's important that the police reviews, how they recruit people into their fold.
So they can do a lot about the recruitment, but also the continuous training and focus on their psyche is also very important, which Adib Sani earlier on reviewed that he believes strongly that the police does not get, psychological assistance in line of their job. So as ranking member of, the Defense and Interior, what do you make of this? If the police is constantly exposed to crime, and they get to the worst of it and they don't receive psychological assistance or training, what's going to happen?
Well, I think my brother Adib Sani's argument is spot on. The police definitely needs assistance. And I made the point that, look, they are human. And so oftentimes, if you consider the fact that they work under harrowing conditions, you deploy them, they work throughout the night to try to flash out armed robbers and so on. Sometimes they get targeted themselves. Okay?
Yeah.
And so it's important that from time to time, they are given every opportunity to seek help if they are emotionally distressed.
Not to cut you. So we're trying to get to Honorable Tobu, but here we are unsuccessful. But you, having worked with them, I don't know if by extension you can paint a picture to me how a police officer having mental challenges appear to be, or looks like, or how sometimes they lay it bare. How do they show it?
How they show it? They are human. And so if a police officer develops a mental problem, why? These are men trained to carry arms. So sometimes you find that they become trigger happy and you want to investigate and find out why a senior police officer, an ASP, would pull his trigger on a junior officer. What may have occasioned that? Maybe momentarily the person had a mental problem. But you see, the ability to detect who is mentally sound for purposes of performing policing functions is one that we need to review constantly. That is why, for instance, the police service has a hospital, they have a psychiatric unit. They are supposed to perform those functions so that before, for instance, officers are deployed, you want to ensure that they are medically fit for purposes of deployment. But the question is, the service has national presence. You find them in remote villages and so on. Police hospital is found only in Accra. How often do the officers who are posted to very remote corners of the country access medical care, when it is most desirable for them to do so? And so those are the practical challenges we have. And so when you hear that the police officer has targeted his own, then it is most probable that the person at some point had a mental challenge, and probably if the person had been exposed to medical care timeously, those things wouldn't happen.
So I'm not sure how your committee is also working to assist the police if you think, or you look into some of these issues and you think that they need that assistance. Are we going to expect that you be working with them and be proactive in provision of mental health services to the Ghana Police Service? And also, how should the public respond to these activities that we're recording? Because if a police officer proposes to me right now, I'm not sure I will agree.
Well, Parliament, our committee has been working very closely with the Ministry of the Interior to ensure that, one, the police service is well resourced. Okay, so for instance, we are talking about the police having a hospital which is situated only in Accra. That hospital itself needs to be, expanded. All right, attempts were made to expand it. So if you go to the police hospital, you find that the International Hospital Group has been there for a very long time. These are the matters that often engage the attention of Parliament. And we have, time without number, raised questions as to why the police hospital remains in its current state. Additionally, it's important that we should have, for instance, regional police health facilities well equipped so that those who find themselves in the regions can have easy access. As an interim measure, the question is, do we even have, for instance, provision made for officers who cannot access healthcare at the police hospital to go to the hospitals that are in the various regions? And when they do, who handles their medical bills? The payment of medical bills for personnel has also been a challenge. And these are the matters that needs to be addressed. But unfortunately, when it is time for the budget cycle, the budget that the security services, including the police, would normally present, it's cut down. You know, government would say they have other equally challenging interventions that needs to be made, and so they wouldn't want to give out everything for the security services. But if you consider the fact that they play a very critical role providing
Exactly
for
my point. I mean, security is first, health is first. These two are major. If we do not have it, there's no way that we can prioritize other sectors over security.
absolutely. So it boils down to the point I'm making, that we need to take seriously the funding, the size of budget, the budgetary allocations for our security sector. It's very, very important. I mean, if, for instance, the health needs of the officers and men are to be dealt with, or dealt with in a manner that allows for the officers to have easy access to health professionals, some of the things we're beginning to see now would be brought to the barest minimum.
Do you have any, updates on the body cams that were told were purchased for the Ghana Police Service? As a committee ranking member, do you have any updates on that? Are they using it?
Anytime we discuss police brutality, the minister's response has always been that the best way to deal with elements who take the law into their hands and brutalize civilians contrary to their standard operating procedures is for us to provide the officers with body cams. But once again, the issue boils down to the lack of funds. And the minister has, time with our number, lamented over their inability to provide all officers, who are deployed to carry out operations with body cams. So even if they have purchased body cams for the service, I am very convinced that those body cams would be in a very, limited number.
Right. Right. Well, I think when it comes to the resources as a whole, but let me just take these final words from you before I let you go. So the at least the beginning of the progress of the Ghana Police Service, obviously with the appearance picking up, is the committee satisfied with it? We know that you're going to be pushing for more, but do you see some changes within the service? Of course, with the renovation of its office, with police uniforms, with the resources that is being purchased for the Ghana Police Service for now.
No. But yes, it's a good thing to give the police headquarters a facelift. But beyond that, there are very nagging issues that needs to be dealt with. You spoke about police uniforms. The police uniforms is something that the committee has not been too happy about. The ability of the service to provide its officers, men and women, with uniforms is something that they have confessed that they lack the capacity to supply their officers with.
Oh, wow.
And so we think that is a matter that needs to be dealt with. Officers have time with that number used their meager salaries, part of their meager salaries, to buy their own uniforms.
Wow.
And even boots. So it's something that calls for very serious intervention. on the part of government. The police services.
So are you saying that if I see a police officer today in a new, fresh uniform, it's not provided by the service, but they...
Most of them buy their own uniforms.
Wow.
That's the plain truth. And that has resulted in, the men, the officers wearing different types of uniforms. There is no uniformity about the uniforms they wear. It's because, government is unable to supply from one source. And that is the cause of the problem.
I'm grateful for your time. Defense and Interior Committee ranking member in Parliament and also member of Parliament for the Buisa North constituency, James Agaga. I'm grateful that you spoke with us here on Good Afternoon, Ghana. So we'll bring the interview to an end here, but those are some updates that you will get from the security service, to be precise, the Ghana Police Service, and a lot that's happening with them. So for now, you will take your security, or you take charge of your own security, but they also, authorities who are in charge will do their best to provide. I think the issue that has come to the fore largely has to do with mental health of the Ghana Police Service. We apologize that we couldn't bring you Peter Tobo as earlier on as short, but we definitely will be probing these issues further. My name is Annie Efompofo. Thank you for watching. Good afternoon.